Okay, so today is June 26th, and we're going to continue on with what happened yesterday. So we left off with me arriving for this very important appointment. Now, just to give a little bit of a backstory, I had received a letter, like I mentioned. Well, it was actually a bill about a month ago, and it was from, I'm gonna have to pull it out of the file, but because we're keeping a file. So we had received this bill, and it was for me to be on probation. It was a bill. It was a bill stating that here's your bill. You're going to get it monthly. You need to pay it to this company, this outside company, right? For you to be on probation. Mm-hmm. So I called the company, and they told me, oh, you need to call probation to have them explain to you why you're getting a bill for probation. So I did. I called, I left my name, my phone number, the reason for my call, and I asked that somebody return my call. And nobody called back. So and I can go back, but let's say about a week ago, I get this letter that tells me that I need to meet with this person for probation. And it was a little confusing. So, but right in there, you know, you got the threats. You might as well be saying, you better fucking show up. Mm-hmm. So, with my health and everything, and knowing that it was going to be a very hot day, and knowing I was, number one, going to be on my oxygen. Number two, I needed a translator. I needed somebody that would be able to translate whatever's written on the paper, because I'm blind. So I called, and I left a very nice message, and I asked for a return call. And I didn't get one. So, in preparation for yesterday, I felt a need to explain to them, I'm going to be coming on oxygen, depending on the building. I might be in my wheelchair. And the fact that I can't see. Nobody returned the fucking phone call. Nobody did. So that's why I was there yesterday. And, sometimes, things happen, and you say, oh, well, you can't be surprised. You didn't follow the rules. The rules, because there are rules, right? So we got to follow the rules, and you received this. Now, if you don't show up, it says it right there. What's going to happen to you? So, and I explained arriving there and everything in the previous audio. So we get there. I explained the waiting area. And my friend signs me in, all that, we're waiting. So I had an 11:30 appointment. And I want to say I sat there for 20 minutes. And we're going to look at the timestamps just to make sure. Because every minute of this, there's going to be a consequence, right? I mean, you'll see where I'm going with this. So, so my name is called. And the girl comes out. And I say to my friend, come on, let's go. And immediately, she says to my friend, who are you? And I said, oh, she's with me because of my blindness, because I can't sign anything without someone reading it to me. And if you think for 1 minute, I'm going to trust anybody outside of my circle at this point, ain't happening. So, I didn't say that to her, but it's the truth. I'm not going to walk in and have sign anything that I can't read. But anyway, so she immediately says, well, that's totally up to you. You know, there's going to be some private things. And I said, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sure it's nothing that I haven't told this person. So we go in, we sit down. And you know that authoritative, attitude, No, don't get me wrong. She's nice. She's pleasant enough. She's got a job to do. Right? But as the file, because there's a file. Can you imagine? There is a file. There is a file inside this probation office. This governmental agency has a file that she flips open with my name on it. And she says, well, it looks like you have 1 year probation and you need to go for a mental health evaluation. And I look at her over in her direction and I said, I already had a mental health evaluation. And she says, can you prove that? Do you have paperwork? The proofs? You already had it done? Yeah, I can get it. I mean, is this what we're going to discuss today? Because now I'm very interested in what we're doing here. And she says, well, what facility did you go to? And what this and what that? 6th District Court has it. 6th District Court has it. So now she says, and what was the outcome? The outcome was I don't have a mental health problem. I have been mentally manipulated by the city of Pawtucket for all these years. See, so when we get this paperwork, because obviously, the government, this governmental agency wants to see this mental health evaluation, right? They need it in their folder. They need it in their folder what the outcome was, what was said, what was done. And if you remember, everything is included. Everything is included of everything, including Frank Milo's covering the fact that the Pawtucket Police Department is giving out my son's medical information without any kind of a court order to do so. And that my son's medical information is still in Frank Milos' hands. But anyway, mental health evaluation, checked. And mental health evaluations usually take 6 to 8 weeks. Mine was 1 day. I came with receipts. I came with proof. I came with everything of what led up to my trying to get in touch with Frank Milos. Right? And then we have the testimony of Frank Milos. This just seals the deal. 104 phone calls of trying to figure out, what are we going to do now that my son's medical records are out there? And he dumped every fucking phone call. It's his testimony. It's not my words. It's his words. Mr. Milos, did you listen to any of the messages that she left? No, as soon as I found out it was her, I dumped it. I dumped it into an email. So you had no idea what Mrs. Farinelli was looking for. Nope. You just allowed her to keep continually calling, expecting that at some point you were going to answer the questions. And you just kept dumping them and dumping them and dumping them. Okay. So we're sitting across from this woman. And she is now surprised that, well, you already had your mental health evaluation, and I have it here that you need to have one. And so I say, I'm very confused. Because this is in the appeals process. The first charge was dropped. The second one is in the appeals process. It has a P3 number. And, it's so funny because I'm learning the lingo here. I'm learning that when it's in an appeal process, it's a P3 number. So she's like, well, wait a minute. Let me look this up. She says, you're right. You shouldn't be here. You should not be here. You're not on probation. You shouldn't even be here. I'm so sorry that you had to come down here. Well, had she called me back and I had a conversation with her, I wouldn't have had to go yesterday. Or maybe I would have. I don't know if there was like some reason why she wasn't calling back, but she wasn't calling back. And that's problematic. That is problematic. Because had I not known to have her look up the P3 number, I don't know how far I would have gotten with her had English not been my first language, right? So I said to her, okay. She's like, yes, everything will revert back. You don't even need to be here. My folder doesn't need to be there. But it is. So the last day of court, my attorney stood up and told the courts, we are going to be appealing this. We are invoking that right of appeal. But what happened after that? Because immediately my attorney put in for an appeal. But yet people still walked around, did what they did, made copies, did all this crap. And I ended up on a 90-something degree day at probation. Mm-hmm. Now let's keep in mind, I've done nothing wrong. There is not one law that I have broken. I don't break laws. I don't. Frank Milos admitted it on the stand. Did you feel threatened? No. Was she obscene? No. Was she anonymous? No. She always says who she is. You know why I wasn't anonymous? You know why this was not what Frank Milos and the Pawtucket Police Department wanted to create? You know why? Because I was looking for answers. I was just looking for answers. Not once have I ever threatened anyone. Never. Did you feel threatened? No. So you don't feel threatened by Mrs. Farinelli? No. Even after everything, see, like if they said to him, even knowing everything that you have fucking done to her, you still don't feel threatened by her? You're a fucking lucky man. You're a fucking lucky man. Because if Mrs. Farinelli was a different person, you probably have to worry, right? But Mrs. Farinelli doesn't do those things. I'm not a violent person. Not at all. I'll get back to this.